Voices of Inclusive Research podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Ren, founder of Diverse Research Now. And today you will hear the voice of Norchelle Brown. Norchelle is a Watts, Los Angeles native and a first-generation college graduate with a passion for advocating for underserved communities. She earned a dual bachelor's degree in sociology and African American studies from UC Riverside, followed by a master's in social work with a focus on community organizing from USC. Norchelle's career spans notable civil rights organizations, the Los Angeles Board of Education, and even working for a member of Congress, where she advanced health policy during the COVID-19 pandemic. In 2021, she founded 850 East, a consulting agency dedicated to addressing social inequalities. Since 2023, Norchelle has also served in a key role at Pfizer, furthering her commitment to improving community health and equity. So, as you can see, Norchelle is a powerhouse in her career life, but today she has been so gracious to share about a personal journey with us. And we both thought it was important to highlight her experience with IVF, especially for the Black community, because we realized that research has shown that Black women often have less access to fertility care and sometimes different outcomes. So we wanted to bring this important conversation to VIR, and so we're so grateful. So let's get started. How are you doing today, Norchelle?
I'm good. Thank you so much for that intro. This is really, really powerful.
Of course, that's all you, girl. That's all you.
Like, who, me?
So tell us a little bit more. Thank you for so first of all, thank you for being so vulnerable. I think this conversation, it could be something that, you want to keep to yourself, but I appreciate you bringing this to the community so other Black women, other women, period, can understand this journey and see if it's a good option for them. So tell us about your journey, your IVF journey.
Thank you. Thanks again for having me on my journey. I first want to start by saying, in no way are we making light of the journey that women have when it comes to infertility. I'm just sharing my journey as far as being proactive in that space. And so, again, want to thank you for having me on. I know a lot of young women who will hopefully be able to gain something from this conversation. But my journey came about as I turned 35 last summer. Can't believe I'm saying that. Turned 35 last summer. And of course, all women hear that at 35, your fertility, rates start to decrease. And so I, for the past 10 years, have been like, oh, I don't know if children are for me. But when I turned 34, I was like, maybe I should start considering egg freezing. And so this has been something on my mind for a while. And I completed the journey about a month ago today. And so I'm so happy that we can have this conversation today.
Awesome. Before your journey, what messages or beliefs did you hear about IVF, especially within the Black community?
Yeah.
Like, what did you know about it?
I had never heard Black women speaking of it. It was always other groups talking about their journeys, mostly from infertility. It wasn't about being proactive in egg freezing or freezing embryos. It was always about, trying with your partner and not being able to conceive, and the journey that it took to either conceive or the struggles that come with that. And so when I started to hear more from doctors, actually one of them, Dr. Jackie Walters, I would hear her talking about it online a lot. And I decided that I think my course of action would be egg freezing. And so that's what I decided to do.
Okay. Tell me, how did you come to that decision? What influenced that decision for you?
I guess I'm really impulsive just in everything in life. If I have something in my mind and it seems like something I can get done, I'm gonna do it. And so once I had the idea, I was like, yeah, that's just what I'm gonna do. It seemed like the option was there. I started to hear more women talking about the journey. It's not ever what you expect it to be, but it was something that I knew was an option to me that I didn't know before. And so when I realized that, I wanted to go ahead and make that move. It's my impulse.
I mean, because you didn't know, and I think that it's amazing because you now are giving yourself the option to
Mhm.
choose because you still are not sure, right? If you want to
No.
have children or not. But now
Yeah.
you know that when you make that decision, like you can do it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so funny. Once my mom actually took me for the procedure, I was like hesitant to tell her because I know if I tell her,
What
she's
was
gonna
her
tell.
reaction? What did
Oh
she
my goodness.
say?
It's funny because I had the procedure done maybe a couple weeks after my niece was born. So we were all just in bliss of having this new baby, and it's my first niece, my
Yeah,
mom's first granddaughter. And it's
yeah.
funny because she wants me to have a daughter so bad. So I feel like she was excited, like, oh, great. So there's still a chance you might have kids.
Okay, okay.
So after she took me, I was like, fine, you can tell your sister. And that's it. Don't go and share with the world what I just did. And so I did get a text from my aunt who she was just like, I'm really proud of you. This is just not
Yep,
something that I knew about when I was coming of age. And
yep,
so she was like, if I had the opportunity, I definitely would have done that. And she was like, you're
yeah.
going to be a great mom. And I was like, hold on, pump
Oh,
your brakes. I don't know if that's the life I want, but I'm happy I have the choice.
exactly. Giving
Mhm.
yourself choices, empowering yourself. That's
Absolutely.
amazing.
Yeah, one of my colleagues who kind of helped walk me through the process because, of course, at the same job, we have similar insurance and all that stuff.
Hmm.
And so, one thing that she said that really stuck with me is that you're taking the clock off the table. Like
Aha.
it's no
I
longer
like that.
like in your mind, like, oh, I don't have time. Like,
Yes.
what am I gonna do? I didn't really think of it before. It was always in the back of my mind, but now I don't even think about
Hmm.
it. So
Hmm.
it's
Like,
awesome.
cause that could bring anxiety, like
Absolutely. Stress.
and it might make you make bad decisions.
I have several friends that I'm like, you should consider this process because I can just see them making some choices and I'm like, girl, don't do it. But yeah, so
Yeah.
it's important.
Yeah. So, what does the emotional journey look like? Because I feel like I don't know anything about this. I know a lot of women don't. And maybe that might be a barrier or something they worry about when it comes to the emotional piece of this journey. How did that
Certainly.
go for you?
I feel like women who are experiencing infertility, it will be a totally different experience for them. For me, I kind of had this joy and excitement after I kind of got over seeing the first few needles and doing the
Okay.
injections and stuff myself.
Okay. Okay.
It was just a little bit more joyous and exciting for me. Emotionally, I can't say that I was either happy or sad. I was just kind of relieved that this was one less thing I would have to think about in
Okay.
the future. Like I said, I'm a little impulsive and I like to plan. And
Mm-hmm.
so this is one thing that I'm not going to really stress about in the
Yep.
future. So I was happy about that.
Yep.
Now, with the hormones and the injections, that does bring about certain emotions.
I was gonna ask about the timing of everything. Like, how long did you have to go through the process and the timing and all that?
Yes. So the process of injections, I feel like it depends on the woman and how fast your follicles are growing. But I would say I did injections for a little bit over 2 weeks, actually. I started,
Okay.
I think, around early March, and my egg retrieval was on the 20th. So
Hmm.
it
Hmm.
was a little over 2 weeks of injections. The process wasn't too strenuous. I chose a clinic that was about an hour away. You don't have to do that. I
Ah,
just kind
okay.
of went over the reviews
Yeah.
and I decided to go with this particular clinic out in Orange County. And
Hmm.
so with that, I had to wake up very early every morning and drive out there. Not every morning, but every other morning. You have to drive
Okay.
out there.
Okay.
You have to do blood work every other day because they're monitoring how these hormones are causing one thing or another. And so that's a process I don't think many people discuss was all the blood work, all the needles. It's a lot of needles every day.
Mm.
I think going into it, I thought it was just like one shot every day for a number of weeks to months. I didn't really know what the timeline would be. It ended up being maybe 2 to 3 needles every day, 2 to 3 injections
Oh,
every
okay.
day.
Okay.
But when I tell you the first night that I had to prepare this medication, and you do have to mix things, it's like you're a scientist, literally. You have to mix things and prepare the injections and everything.
Hmm.
Once I did that, I'm sitting at my kitchen counter and I'm like,
Hmm.
what have I got myself into? Like I literally have to like inject myself with these things. And it wasn't the medication, it was the needles that were really
Yeah,
bothering
yeah.
me.
I,
But honestly, once I did it, I was like, oh, it wasn't bad at all. And then
okay,
I had a couple other people I know through work who had gone through it, and they were like, if you ice it, you literally don't feel a
okay,
thing. And
okay,
so, literally icing it for a minute right before injecting, you don't feel a thing. And so, I
okay,
think that's something people should know. Like, I would definitely do it over again. And I can see how
okay.
women are able to do multiple rounds because
Mm,
that part is not as difficult as it seems. I feel like for me, the most difficult part was getting up early and driving out to Orange
yeah,
County every other
yeah.
day.
I
Mhm.
mean, dedication. You have to be dedicated to this
You do.
process.
And I understand how that can be a barrier too.
Yeah,
Imagine women who already have children
yep,
or who have to work. I work from home, so I had a little bit more flexibility, but
yep,
I can just imagine what that would be like trying to get to the clinic every other
yep,
day to have these, numbers read and do these ultrasounds every other day. So it
yeah.
can be a barrier for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so what are some of the other barriers that you think that might come up or has come up? Like any financial barriers? What about the cultural barriers? Like, because I'm wondering
Yeah.
what was your experience culturally, since we know that not many Black women are going this route. So I'm
Yeah.
wondering what the doctors are saying or like,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, absolutely. It's funny because I kind of walked in the clinic already expecting not to see much of myself,
Mm,
and I didn't. The only other
hmm.
Black woman I saw in the room the entire time I was there was one of the women who worked at the front desk.
Yeah.
Other than that, I didn't see any other Black people, unfortunately. And that was something I really took notice to. Remember, I'm there almost every single day for 3 weeks and
Right.
not seeing anybody who looked like
Wow.
me outside of someone at the front desk. But I'm kind of used to it in my space, in my work.
Yeah.
There's not many of us who are represented in medicine or
Mm-hmm.
represented
Mm-hmm.
as, patient advocates. And so I'm kind of used to it, but I can understand how it can be a little off-putting for women who are really, really becoming or wanting to see more Black women in
Mm-hmm.
these spaces.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then what about the financial barriers? Do you foresee any
Oh
or
my
like
goodness.
what is that like, the
Yeah,
financial
so
part?
you know what? I'll talk about the piece of it that I just did not know, and it's
Okay.
insurance is
Uh-huh.
one major part of that. Um,
Okay.
I remember for years, before I even thought about doing this was something that I thought you had to pay out of pocket. So in
Mm-hmm.
my mind, I was preparing to pay at least like $10,000 to $15,000 out of pocket. This is just in my mind. I'm like, I don't know how
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna do it, but
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna figure out getting this done. And
Uh-huh.
so I contacted my colleague and she was like, well, our insurance, I do want to share that insurance coverage has come a long way when it comes to IVF and infertility. But I do want to say that my colleague, she shared that our insurance through our employer has something called centers of excellence that they have. And so if you go to
Mm.
one of these centers of excellence for
Mm-hmm.
fertility,
Mm-hmm.
basically you get more coverage if
Okay.
you go to these specific clinics within the network. And so I do want to share with anyone listening or watching, make sure to get in contact with your insurance provider and ask if there's any particular clinics that they recommend or if they have centers of excellence that are part of the network because they typically are covered, I guess, at a higher rate. And
Mm-hmm.
so, with that, after my initial consultation with one of the doctors at the clinic, they do allow you to choose. A lot of the clinics have three or four or even more providers there. And so they allow you to choose who you want to go with. I went with a woman provider who I just felt more comfortable that way.
Mm-hmm.
But after that initial consultation, they told me I was a good candidate. They kind of were able to see through ultrasound how many eggs I could potentially have in the next cycle. It was very interesting. But
Okay.
the following appointment I had was a financial consultation. They told me, after looking at insurance, what I was expected to pay out of pocket, and I was prepared to do that. And I said, so is this due? When is this due? Is it now? Is it going to be after the procedure? I was told that it was due right before the injection started. I
Mm-hmm.
still have not paid that. I don't know
Okay.
if I'm going to be receiving a surprise bill. This is the issue that I've talked about in the past with my former employer, the member of Congress. This is something that she highlights a lot in her work. You go to the doctor, you go see a specialist, and you're expecting one thing, and then you receive a surprise bill in the mail months later or however later. But I'm hoping it's not that type of situation. I'm hoping my insurance was able to cover it all. But my colleague did share what her expenses looked like. And so I'm kind of sure that it's going to be similar to what that was, but it's not as expensive as people would think. And then I also want to talk
Okay.
about storage. People,
Uh-huh.
I watched this one podcast
Uh-huh.
and they were talking about, paying rent for your eggs and it's like, or your
Wow.
embryos. And it's like, I have to
Wow.
pay rent here and I have to pay rent there. But it's not as bad as people would think. I actually got a note shortly after retrieval that said, my storage was, I believe, around $1,200, but the first year is free. So your storage is
Okay.
$1,200 for the year, not per
Okay.
month. Some
That's not
people
bad.
think rent per month, but no,
Yeah.
it's literally $1,200 for a year. And I was like, I can make that happen.
Yeah.
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 And then I think up until a certain time, I'll be like, do I need to keep them anymore? Then you can decide what you want to do from that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've heard that people think like I was just looking at this comedy show the other day and this lady was talking about embryos that she
Mhm.
had kept. She had all these embryos and because what happens with them? Do you
Well,
think
some
about
people
that?
donate. Some people donate
Oh,
them.
okay. You can donate them. Okay.
Yeah, you can
Okay.
donate them to research, I'm certain, or you can donate them to another couple who's looking or another individual who's looking to have children. You can donate your
And then
eggs
that's
or
I
your
feel like
embryo.
that's a whole nother like emotional journey, I feel
It
like.
is.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Did you do any like research behind the IVF? I mean, like as far as like studies or anything that
I
had studied
didn't.
this process?
No, I didn't, but I wish I did. But no, I didn't do much research. I think the research I had done was based off of what I was receiving from my doctors. When you go to the doctor, they give
Okay.
you results and then you're like Googling what it means, or they give you medication and you're Googling the active ingredients and all that
Hmm.
stuff. I think that's the type of research I did. I didn't do much research as far as like, women my age, my race, my background, what our outcomes look like. I didn't do much research on that.
Hmm. Yeah, because as I mentioned in the beginning, we now know because we looked into it a little bit because we wanted to prepare for this episode that Black women often have less access to fertility care and different outcomes, which one of the outcomes that we found was that it is a disparity with
Yeah,
how their outcome, Black women outcomes. I think it was 45% of live births as compared to 60% of live births for white women.
yeah,
And I feel like that's a gap in research. We need to learn more about that for sure.
absolutely. And I think something I do want to note is that when I went for my initial appointment, my doctor was able to pull up this sort of calculator that shared how
Hmm.
many eggs you need in order to guarantee a live birth. And
Yes.
so I can't remember what the numbers were exactly, but it was like you need, if you're going to just do egg retrieval, you need between, I'm just going to make this up, it's around this number though,
Hmm.
15 to 20 to guarantee at least one live birth.
Wow. Okay.
Right. And so I'm not sure if those are the numbers, but it's around there. Right. And so that's why you hear some women are having, difficulty with having multiple different rounds of IVF or egg retrievals. And so that's something that I think women should consider as well. I mean, there are women who get like 30 eggs off of one round. That wasn't my journey. That wasn't my story.
Wow.
But there are
Yeah.
women who end up with that many eggs. And so there's women who I've been hearing actually, I watched another podcast where a woman was talking about how a clinic offered her a discount or like a deal that if she did multiple rounds, she would pay, this amount less. And she ended up with all these embryos that she didn't even need. And now she
Wow.
feels kind of bad because, she doesn't know what to do with them. And so that's a whole nother topic.
Whole nother
But
topic.
there are situations where you want to shoot for the stars as far as getting as many eggs as you can.
Yeah. The amount of eggs that you get, is it based off of like your age? is these younger women that are getting like more eggs? It's based off your age, right?
Yes, and the quality of the eggs. That's why I'm not concerned. At 35, your quality should still be relatively good.
Good.
But the older you get, it is suggested that you do multiple rounds so that you get as many eggs as you can so that they
Hmm.
are quality eggs. And so
Hmm.
I'm hoping that all of my eggs are quality eggs so that if I
Yeah.
do decide to implant and do all that stuff, I do have a great chance of having a live birth. But
Yeah.
it does, age does make a difference for sure.
Yeah. And then what about diet? Did they tell you like about like things that you shouldn't eat or things like, because I think it
Mhm.
all relates to how healthy you are too,
That's
right?
true. Yeah, for sure. But then also with women, our fertility is decreasing as we age,
That's
no
true.
matter how well we take care of ourselves.
Okay.
So
Okay.
there can be a woman who's ideal as far as her health, but her fertility may be dwindling,
Yeah.
as she ages, and there's not much you can do about that.
Yeah.
And so they didn't really talk about diet. I feel like the
Okay.
process is just so short that
Okay.
it's not much you're going to be able to do, but I would suggest if you're considering it, start to take those changes, make those changes early as far as diet and exercise.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're just deciding, okay, next week I'm going to go in and see a doctor and start the process, there's
Right.
not much of a difference
No.
it's going to make if you
Yeah.
start to
Yeah.
be healthy during that process.
Yeah. What would you say to other Black women or women, period, who are considering IVF and but they feel a little unsure and hesitant about it?
I would suggest it. I certainly would. It was not at all what I thought it would be. I feel like what we see as far as women who want to be proactive in this space, we see women who are dealing with infertility. And so we see the stressful side of it, we see the painful side of
Hmm.
it. We don't see the side where it's just an opportunity for you to take that stress off of your
Yeah.
back, right? And so I would certainly suggest it to any woman I know who is considering having children or who is still unsure, but they're aging, I would definitely recommend it.
Okay, yeah. I do feel like we tend to like highlight the negative parts, like you said, the infertility or the unfortunate pieces of
Yeah, the
this.
challenges
But
of it
this is
all.
a part of the story that is positive. Again, it's empowering you as a woman, I like that comment that your coworker said, taking the clock off the table. I love that. And again, I think that more women should think about that, of course. And I feel like with the way that this world is going, we are having children later. Like, I feel
Yeah,
like people are definitely having children later. They're focusing on their careers and things first before the children come. So they need to know more about these opportunities for sure.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I do want to share a little bit about after the procedure and what the procedure is
Okay.
like.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Okay. Most of the stuff is done very early in the morning. So
Mhm.
my procedure, honestly, just drove to the site where it was done. You're getting prepped pretty much just like any other procedure or surgery. It's about 45 minutes to an hour.
Okay.
It's outpatient, so you are back in the car, not you driving, you can't drive yourself because you'll be sedated, and so you can't drive after that. But you're back with whoever drove you there within, I would say, a matter of 2 or 3 hours, and you're on your way home. They will tell you right after the procedure how many eggs that they got and if they were quality eggs. So that's a good thing to go home with that understanding, like, oh, okay, good. I had a really good procedure. Or no, I have to go back and do a second round because I didn't get what I wanted. And so the process of healing, I would say, takes about a couple days to start to feel like yourself again. I myself, I gained like 10 pounds right after the procedure. There
Okay.
was a lot of fluid. And so
Ah,
they do suggest after that, like your diet and exercise after that, a lot of fluids to drain it all out. But I did lose it within a matter of days. So I know some women might be
okay.
worried about that, but I did lose that weight within, I would say, a week or so. And after that, I felt literally no pain whatsoever. And that was the journey. It's not what people believe it is. And so I'm just happy that I can share what my journey was with everybody.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Norshell. I am so grateful for your voice in this. I'm hoping that something that was shared today encourages other women to do this if they've been thinking about it, you know. I think it's amazing. Again, I love to empower my community, and I think this is such an empowering story. So thank you so much for sharing.
No, absolutely. One last thing I do want to share.
Oh, okay, sure, sure.
I mentioned going to the clinics often, but you're only there max 30 minutes every time that you go.
Okay.
So it's
Okay.
not like you're there all day getting monitored and hooked up to machines and everything. You're there max 30 minutes and you're on your way to
Okay.
get on with your day.
I actually do have last question about how would someone start this conversation? Is this something that they take to their doctor or their gynecologist? Like, where does this conversation start on this journey? Like,
Yeah, I would say if you are someone who's had significant challenges with conceiving, certainly start with your OBGYN. I mentioned it to my OBGYN a couple years ago, but
mhm.
I still haven't even shared with her that I did this.
Oh,
It was literally once I decided that I was going to do it, getting in contact with my insurance and
okay.
then going through the systems that they have in place because my OBGYN a couple years ago, she actually recommended a place, but it's not in my network. So
Okay. Okay.
if I would have gone to the place my OBGYN recommended, I probably would be in a totally different situation
Mm-hmm.
financially.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So the process is kind of you do go through your insurance, but it's not like you have to go talk to your doctor about it. You can just go through your insurance and then go to the center or
Yeah.
whoever is gonna do that. And then you talk to someone there.
Yeah, because they're OBGYNs as well. And so
Okay.
they are
Okay.
going to make sure that you're ready for this. So they will have the same, of course, training and everything as an
Okay.
OBGYN that you would typically see, and they will be able to tell you whether or not you're a good candidate.
So I'm surprised that this is not something that they would communicate back to your.
Well, she probably knows now. I just haven't talked to her.
Okay. 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 Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, she probably knows now.
She probably knows now. Okay. Okay, well, thank you so much, Noshelle. We appreciate you coming on and all success to your journey when
Thank
you
you.
decide what you want to do.
Thank you. Maybe I'll come back and give an update.
Yeah, give an update on how your journey going, even what you decide to do. Hey, we'll be around.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Mhm. Bye-bye.